Okay, we're getting folks in. Good morning, everybody. It's good to see everyone today. Mike, we've got to get you to unmute yourself so you can say hi to everybody.
Is it not going?
We should be good.
We can hear you. We just can't hear Mike.
Here I am.
Yeah,
Sorry.
There you are.
Sorry.
Yay.
We had a dog situation that I had to mute.
Understand.
Yeah.
I'm having
I
a
can relate to
charging
that.
situation.
Uh-oh.
I hope I don't go out. But I'm
No more situations allowed today.
Maybe you should do your part now, Christy. Just
yeah, read the
out of
script right now.
We'll just come back to it.
So we are live on the session. I'm sorry, I'm a little behind the times here. We got 12 participants. So welcome, everybody. I'm sure Sheila has already said that. I was busy with my dogs. Okay. Please go to the chat and let us know who you are and a little good morning message if you choose to. And we're just so happy to have everybody with us today. I think we have a great message for everybody. And there's Sarah Atten. Yeah, I think we're going to have a great Sunday school session. Feeling very positive about it.
Well, I am
We're
too.
excited to have
about
Michael
that.
back. Yay.
Were you going to say, I'm sorry, Sheila, I cut you off. Have a bad habit of doing from time to time. But yeah, I'm so glad to be back with this group. This is the third of 4 weeks that I get to spend with you all talking about leadership and Moses and kind of going through the story of his life around the parts that we have all known and heard for years about how he parted the Red Sea and talked to a burning bush and that there's a lot more to the story than that and maybe some ways that we can hear God speaking to us today in these stories. And so hopefully we'll listen to that and hopefully we'll hear that today. And I'm looking forward to getting into it once we all kind of get together and get through this morning's poll that Matt worked on. So yeah, I'm excited to be with you all to teach again.
You're here.
Well, just throwing this out there, Michael had such a profound influence on me when we both did this Sunday school a couple weeks back. Now I'm sitting in on their Wednesday night Bible study. So that's been very rewarding. They haven't kicked me out yet.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So
And
hopefully
we're
you
not
all
gonna either. I'm so glad that you joined us. It's the more the merrier, and it's a really good group.
You haven't gotten my background check back yet, so wait till that comes through. We have a happy Sunday from Betsy and Elizabeth. We have Don and Diana Grammer both here today. Good morning from Kathy Levinson and Jessica Rosenthal. So it looks like we got a good group together this morning. Are we going to have a poll question? Matt, that's the big giant elephant in the room. We got to know what it is.
All right, let's cue.
All right. You want to read it, Sheila?
Oh, sure. So the question is, how do you pace yourself? We often find ourselves working more often or more strenuously than is healthy. Moreover, it often takes someone in our life to help us realize we need to pace ourselves. When this happens for you, who in your life calls it to your attention? And here are your choices. And no, there's none of the above, as always. The first is my spouse. The second is a close, trusted friend, my business partner or coworker, a parent, a sibling. So
Good question.
Yes. And as always, folks, you can add in your commentary in the chat if you need to. I know I usually need to qualify my answer. So.
Well, we're all married in this group, so I kind of have a feeling that I can guess what the answer is going to be.
That's a big one.
That would be my answer, definitely my spouse.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think coming in a close second for me is a close trusted friend. My small group speaks into my life a lot and reminds me that I need to take a break sometimes, and that those retreat moments are really important for my own growth and development and rest, that Sabbath is important. What if your spouse is also a close trusted friend? Good point, Matt.
Yeah.
We would hope. We would hope.
Oh, and Dan Burgess says, for me, it's sometimes been my kids. So that's
I was thinking that my kids don't say it, but they're always on my mind as like, I need to make time for them and choose them over other things.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point.
That's a great point, Chris. Yeah, they often provide the reason, if not the motivation. I'll be curious to see what the majority comes back, because it seems like, in order to be that person that tells you that you need to take some time and take some rest and look at the bigger picture, you first they have to be close enough to you to see that you're not, and two, have to have a good enough relationship with you that they can call you out and still have a relationship after the fact, which kind of prescribes a certain solution. Although I had a coworker who said to me last week, he's like, I know we're working on a big project, but I'd like to go on vacation with my girlfriend to the beach. I cannot go, but I was just hoping that things might work out. And I said, yeah, no, you're going to be able to go to that. We will work it out. So often I get to be in the position at work of pushing that out there, rather than people telling me to rest. But it's just that whatever frame of mind you can create, whether at home or at work or around you, where people feel comfortable telling you to take a rest, is just a great situation to be in, if you can find yourself in that situation, whoever it is. So I hope everybody has an answer to this poll, because it's just really good to have those people around.
Well, I also think that with the quarantining and everything with COVID and the news, it's important not only to slow down and slow down your pace, but also to just be able to step away, step back, take a breath, sit in the woods and listen to the nothing. It's everybody needs some of that.
Yeah, for sure. For those of us who are at home for most of this, to get out of the house,
Right.
Woods is great. Taking a bike ride around the neighborhood has been good, and a lot of that for us too, Christy, is the kids. When they start running around the house in circles, we go, okay, it's time for everybody to take a break. It's helpful. Well, I think we probably need to close the poll if we've got close to, if we've got a good number of folks who've responded. I can't see the numbers. Yep. Mike, you want to read it out?
Sure. 53%, number one answer, my spouse. And then in at 40%, a close trusted friend. 7%, which was one person, my business partner and coworker, and then parent and sibling got nothing. So, yeah, that's it's interesting that I could see a parent saying to, like, a grown person like myself, my mom and dad are still alive, I could see them saying, hey buddy, slow down, take a breath, kind of thing. But that apparently hasn't happened to anybody in this poll. So
All right.
That's cool. And we do have 29 people joining us today. So thanks everybody for being here.
Yeah, thank y'all for coming.
This is great.
We're excited that you're here, and I'm excited that Michael continues to come back to join us. He hasn't been scared away by our 30-minute time format or the interactions that we've had. So that's a good thing, I think. We're glad that he's here back again talking about Moses and leadership in the Bible. And I'm really excited that Christy Goodwin has agreed to join us and is going to be reading and talking with us. You want to say hi, Christy, and open us in prayer?
Sure.
Thanks.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together today to learn more about you, learn more about ourselves and our friends. Help us to do your will as we live today. Help us to befriend others. Help us to be open to loving others and to listen. And help us to bring your light and love to everyone we meet. Amen.
Thank you. Well, we are excited to continue this conversation. Michael, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can give us some context and we can get going.
Okay, thank you so much. So yeah, I'm excited to be back. I think there's a lot in these lessons that can speak to us. You know, we place the Exodus as happening thousands of years ago, and yet at times there's some things about it that can feel like it's talking about right now. So I'm here for 4 weeks. This is the third of 4 weeks. The first week we talked about Moses at the burning bush. The second we talked about Moses and the Israelites fleeing the Egyptians on their way to the Red Sea. Today we're going to talk about a time where they're at Mount Sinai in the wilderness, you know, becoming the people that they are supposed to, that God needs them to become. So when we meet Moses and the Israelites in this story, they are they have already crossed the Red Sea. They've already received the 10 Commandments. They're trying to live a life together. And at this point, Moses is still doing just about everything himself. This immediately follows a story that you all may remember where they fought the Amalekites. And the way that story went is Moses found Joshua, who went down into the valley to actually fight the Amalekites, and Moses and Aaron were up on a hill watching over it, where Moses had a staff with a snake on it that we still see in the medical profession to this day. And every time he held the staff up, they did better, and every time he dropped the staff, they did worse. And so Aaron came to help him hold the staff up and kind of held his hand, which is a metaphor of sorts for the story that we're going to hear today. So as we get into the story, I want you all to hopefully listen to hear, you know, who you identify with it, and move around the frame if you can. What is Moses telling us about it? What is Moses's father-in-law telling us about it? What does this say about leadership? What does this say about our humanity and what we should do? So really just kind of try to hear and let God speak to you through this lesson. And Christy, if you could do the reading, I would love to discuss it with you all on the other side.
All right, this is from Exodus chapter 18, verses 13 through 24. The next day, Moses sat as a judge for the people, while the people stood around Moses from morning until evening. When Moses' father-in-law saw all that he was doing for the people, he said, "What's this that you are doing for the people? Why do you sit alone while all the people are standing around you from morning until evening?" Moses said to his father-in-law, "Because the people come to me to inquire of God. When a conflict arises between them, they come to me and I judge between the two of them. I also teach them God's regulations and instructions." Moses' father-in-law said to him, "What you are doing isn't good. You will end up totally wearing yourself out, both you and these people who are with you. The work is too difficult for you. You can't do it alone. Now listen to me and let me give you some advice, and may God be with you. Your role should be to represent the people before God. You should bring their disputes before God yourself. Explain the regulations and instructions to them. Let them know the way they are supposed to go and the things they are supposed to do." Moses listened to his father-in-law's suggestions and did everything that he had said. But you should also look among all the people for capable persons who respect God. They should be trustworthy and not corrupt. Set these persons over the people as officers of groups of thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. Let them sit as judges for the people at all times. They should bring every major dispute to you, but they should decide all of the minor cases themselves. This will be much easier for you, and they will share your load. If you do this, and God directs you, then you will be able to endure, and all these people will be able to go back to their homes much happier. Moses listened to his father-in-law's suggestions and did everything that he had said.
Thank you so much, Christy. I think, as I said earlier, there's a lot in this story, and a lot that I think can speak to us, especially in light of the poll that we read, that sometimes we do tend to overcommit ourselves and find ourselves in a situation where we just feel like the world is on our shoulders. So I guess the first question that I'd want to hear your all's thoughts on is where you hear in this about Moses's humanity. Where what does this situation tell us about being human? Don't all
I'll
talk
tell
at
you
once.
I'll tell you the first thing I thought when I read it was, we can't do it all, but we think we can and we should.
Yeah, I was glad that you shared that, because when you said that on Thursday when we had our little pre-chat, I said, yep, that about sums it up. Yeah, and sometimes you get stuck in it. I think in rereading this again today, I'm seeing, oh gosh, I mean, I'm sure it didn't start with this horde of people coming to Moses all at once. There weren't hundreds of people showing up and saying, we have issues, solve them for us. But it probably started a little bit more of a trickle, maybe 10 or 20 people showing up in front of his tent saying, what's going on? You need to sort this out for us. And then all of the next thing you know, right, that happens to us too. Or we start and it's totally manageable, and then all of a sudden things blow up, whether in a good way or a negative way, but it blows up and then you're doing what you started doing, but now there's a lot more to do.
I think also you kind of get stuck doing it. You're the one that volunteered to do it, so you just keep doing it, and you forget, like, there are other people who can help.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly where I was what I was gonna say with it was, the last week we talked about how Moses's relationship with the Israelites was him trying to lead them and them saying, were there no graves in Egypt that you had to lead us out into the wilderness to die? So they honestly thought he was actively trying to kill him. So he wanted so much to actually lead them and have them listen to him and follow him. And so now he finds himself in the situation basically as a victim of his own success, right? That now they are finally listening to him and finally coming to him. And so the solution to one problem is another problem that needs to be solved. And I think it's interesting if you look in the kind of the arc of the story, that it's kind of a good thing that at least now the Israelites are listening to him, because at least they weren't even doing that until recently. But now they're listening to him, and he's got to do something about that, and that can be kind of tough. So what do you all hear about? What about Jethro's advice? Do you hear anything in what he says that really speaks to you about what a leader should be and about what leadership is?
Well, I did want to say that he started with looking for capable people. And so for all of you out there, that means all of us are capable, right? Like, that's just one thing that's easy, like, that we can all do, right? We can all be capable. We just don't know it sometimes.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That is an amazing it's an amazing thing, because he didn't say find people who were amazing and perfect in every way. Right? That's not it's not where he went with it. Sheila, Mike, what did you all hear in that?
Sorry, I was going to say, he didn't even say specifically find people who are good at listening to others and have good judgment and these other things that you would think would be an important skill set if you're going to judge between ideas. And the three requirements were what? Capable, trustworthy, and not corrupt. Like, it feels like a low bar, really, to get folks on board. But I think it says a lot then, as I'm sure we'll hear in the comments here, but it says a lot for what God speaks into those who are willing to accept when they're invited into roles. And Christy, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I would love to hear both you and Michael and Mike, if you could chime in, a moment when you've been called to something that maybe you didn't really think you should be doing or could do or would be good at.
I mean, that's an easy one for me to answer, because, I guess it was 4 years ago when I was asked to be co-lay leader. And I was like, no, like, not now, not this time, not with kids.
Right.
And the cool thing was that George was like, I want your family to come first. Like, that doesn't have to be part of the no decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's cool that, I think if we think of it that way, especially like if we think about the capable part first, a lot of people are capable. And then, are you willing? And a lot of people kind of think, oh, I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. But as I kind of grew and progressed along and committed to it, it's interesting to see the journey that my ministry has taken from that moment on. So it's really cool to just kind of think like, I didn't know that I had that in me, you know, and somebody else saw it, and, you know, it's kind of cool to see where that goes.
You know,
Go ahead,
Mike.
Well, I have two thoughts. One is I think that being involved at Christ Church, definitely sets you up for success in that idea of doing something that you didn't think you could do. So for my wife and I, it's been since 2007, I guess. So it's been, being asked to teach a 5th grade Sunday school class, or being asked to work with middle school youth on in their Laudate choir. My wife was invited to go with upper school kids on a mission trip to Eastern Kentucky. I mean, these are all things that wouldn't ordinarily pop into our minds of, hey, I can do that. But when someone presents it to you, and, you know, all right, I'll go on to my second point. So my second point is that this, to me, is kind of like, this is kind of like the genesis of management, of how to manage people. And, you know, we've all been in the workplace before and seen managers or been managers, or, and definitely seen people that aren't managed very well, or managers that don't do their job very well. So that's what kind of rang out to me, was that, the people who are capable, people who are not corrupt. And then he actually breaks it down by the numbers and says, you know, let them be in charge of this many people. And so I thought that was cool, because some of us in our workplaces could definitely learn a thing or two from that pretty basic idea.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, I'm going to say, you know, there's kind of two ways to look at this that I think is interesting. One is the person being called, which is to your question. And I think the interesting distinction on that is the difference between capable and ready. Because there's been a lot of times I've been called to something where, you know, for example, I've been helping out with the confirmation class the past few years. And the way I first started with that is they said, you know, do you want to be a mentor? Okay, that I can do that. Do you want to be a small group leader? Like, okay, I can do that. Do you want to run the whole confirmation class? Like, well, now hold on a second. But like, I asked myself, you know, what skills would I need to do this? And I say, like, okay, I could probably do this and this and this and this. So am I capable of it? Sure. Do I feel ready to take on that responsibility and to become that kind of person? No, I did not at all. Just last year, I took on a much larger position at work, where I'm responsible for everything east of the Mississippi River for my company. And that's a lot of territory. Could I do the actual work? Yes. Did I feel ready to do it? No. And so oftentimes what holds me back, and I think what holds all of us back to do more, is that we don't feel like we're ready. And so that's one of the great things I hear in this story, is not feeling like you're ready is part of the process. You know, and it speaks nothing about whether you're ready, it's whether you're capable that we see in this story. And I think that there's definitely some truth to that. The other side of it that I think is curious is, so Jethro is telling Moses, you need some help, find some people. And so when you're looking to bring folks into your movement and grow this idea you have, it is easy and a tendency of us to say, well, I need people who are as good or better than me to do this. And ideally, sure, we'd all love that. But when you go to making a list of, okay, well, who should I really invite into the leadership roles? We kind of want to put our bar higher than it necessarily needs to be. And so that's what I think is curious, that he picks those three things. And, you know, I guess I would like to hear with you all that just, it seems like a low bar. But why is it capable, trustworthy, and what was the third one?
Not
Capable,
corrupt.
trustworthy,
Not
and not corrupt. So, I mean,
Which does
why,
translate, for the
bring,
record, which does kind of translate to like greedy or looking to get something out of the bargain, right? Depending on your translation. So just throw that out there.
Yeah. So I guess the thing is, well, why is that? What is the wisdom of doing that, and why are those the criteria for bringing people in to share the leadership with? Which I think we've already kind of talked around this question, but I did want to come back to that just one more time. Like, if we want to, not necessarily leaders of the Israelites, but in anything that we're trying to do, why is it that is the bar that the Bible is telling to share and having people be a part of the movement?
I think it's because it's inclusive to everyone. You know, it doesn't leave, I mean, most people, as long as you're trustworthy and not corrupt, but it just opens that, it opens it up to anyone who's willing to help. And so as a leader, you know, you need to trust that the people that you put in charge will do their work, and, you know, you can empower them to be able to do it, even if they maybe don't have a lot of ideas in their own mind that they can, right? But as long as you kind of move them along and encourage them, it'll work out.
Betsy Gibson mentioned in the chat section a little while ago that shared involvement creates tremendous unity for a cause. And I think that's an insightful point when talking about this too. And like everything, I mean, Mike was speaking to it a little bit as you were talking about management, Mike. I mean, we've probably, most of us, seen in our jobs, and if you're parents and parenting, you learn as you go. You don't know all of the things when you get started, even if you've researched a lot and read as many books as you can, which is how I cope with everything. There's still a lot that you don't know when you get started on that journey. And so being open to that is an important part of it. And I mentioned this on Thursday when we talked, but I mean, this is a great model for discipleship and growing in faith, is that you don't know everything when you get started, but you work with a leader, you work with mentors, you work with your small group, and you keep moving forward. You keep learning new things and seeing how it applies when you put these things to work, how it works out in your real life.
And I think that leaves you open to change and, you know, new ideas as they come along, you know, just that you don't know everything, and that gives you the ability to kind of learn as you go and change your ministry or change the way you lead, or
you know, that kind of brings up one thing that I thought was interesting, that I also brought up when we last talked, which is you know, they say you need to find these good people and set them up, and then and then you decide all the big stuff, and then they decide all of the little stuff. Who gets to decide what's the big stuff that Moses has to decide, and what's the not so big stuff that these appointed people get to decide? I mean, that's going to be an interesting line, and it's going to test everyone as their ministry goes, as to where to draw that line, right? Do y'all have any thoughts or insight onto that aspect of it? Once you bring them on, how you trust them?
Well, I had a manager once who said, I'm going to show you how to do this. It was whatever the task was. I'm going to show you how to do this, and then I want you to show me how to do this. Mm-hmm. That way, you know, you've been taught the thing, and then you're having to teach the thing to the next person. And then he says, once we have that exercise completed, then I want you to be in charge of telling all the people that you work with how to do this thing. So I thought that was pretty good. The guy was a jerk, but it was good advice.
Well, and I think the key to that is, you know, giving them responsibility, which allows them to grow. So, I mean, I always use the example of my own kids. Like, if they're having a fight, it's like, okay, you guys work it out, or you're gonna have to be separated. So they'd much rather work it out than be alone, right? So just kind of giving, you know, in that situation with Moses, what's little, what's big. If you guys can work it out, that's awesome, you know? So giving them the responsibility of being able to do that.
Matt Walton added in the chat, trust people with small tasks at first, then gradually work up toward more responsibility.
Yeah, I think those are all some wonderful comments, and they are kind of a piece that, you know, calling someone to this position is not the be all end all. It's the beginning of a process, you know, that you know, even once you have brought them in, that doesn't mean that Moses stepped away completely. I also think it is interesting, the byproduct of this, and I think this happened here with Moses and the people as well as it happens with us, is since there are more folks in it, there will necessarily begin to be debates where the people will say we want to go one way, and Moses will say, well, no, I want to go the other. And so there's a long history in the Old Testament and in the Jewish faith of people struggling with their theology and not all having to agree and be of one mind, because it's in that debate and discussion and struggle. If you value the points that other people come to, you can often hear some things that you wouldn't hear if everybody agreed. And it's very possible, and I am of the opinion that the reason we have the books of Leviticus and Numbers and Deuteronomy, or at least a lot of them, is because of this passage here. Because Moses appointed the people, and then anything that came back to him, they said, okay, well, so someone had clothing of 2 different fabrics and that didn't work out for them. Write it down. Can't wear clothing with 2 different fabrics, right? And so, it seems like when you read those stories that you're only hearing the other half of the story. And I think this gives some interesting context to it, that once you have that group, you can have these discussions, and Moses wouldn't have been able to write any of it down if he was standing from morning to night to do this kind of thing. So bringing folks in allowed them to memorialize it and write the stuff down that we, thousands of years later, can refer back to and see our humanity and see leadership models that are actionable for us today, and what went on with him. And I just think that's just a super cool thing to be able to do on a Sunday morning. And I'm so glad that Moses listened to his father-in-law, unlike anybody on the poll said, because we wouldn't have listened to our family members, let alone our in-laws. But thank God he listened to our in-laws, so that we could have this story and this time to talk about leadership.
Before we wrap up, I just want to quickly say, I think Sarah Eaton and Kathy Levinson had good points in the comments that connect. Sarah said it strikes her that Moses was called primarily as a prophet, not a people manager. So the situation he finds himself in is an example of other people putting tasks onto him he's not really called to do. And then Jethro comes along and finds a better way, both for Moses and the people who weren't called as prophets, but might still be good judges. And so it's about spiritual gifts, right? It's about maybe what your more specific capabilities are. So you're not just a capable person, but here are ways that you are extra capable. And Kathy's point was, when leaders delegate, then they open themselves up to do more work. Now everybody can do more work because you've taken off the things that are maybe not part of your spiritual gifts or abilities, and you've allowed other people the space to do that work well, because that's what they're gifted in. I think that's really smart. Thank you for sharing, guys.
Those are some amazing comments. I love it.
I know not everybody can read all the comments, and I'm sorry you can't, because we can't get through all of them sometimes. And if there's any way that you can read those, I think they're really wonderful. So, but we've got to wrap up, sadly.
Yes, there's always more to talk about. So next week will be our last week talking about leadership in the Bible, and the lesson itself is a little on the shorter side, so that hopefully we can have time for more amazing comments like that, and any kind of context that we can see over a larger picture. So I'm looking forward to having you all back next week to do this again. And yeah, there's always more to talk about. We could talk for hours about these passages. That's the beautiful thing about the Bible.
And about reading it in groups. Thank you guys for all being here today and being willing to have this chat. It was a great conversation, including those of you who participated in our comments. Thank you.
Yeah,
all right, Mike, do you want to send us off?
Oh, sure. Okay. This is a Franciscan benediction. It's a little bit clever, and I think it sends a good message. May God bless you with anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people, so that you may work for justice, freedom, and peace. May God bless you with tears to shed for those who suffer pain, rejection, hunger, and war, so that you may reach out your hand to comfort them and turn their pain to joy. And may God bless you with enough foolishness to believe that you can make a difference in the world, so that you can do what others claim cannot be done. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, group. Y'all have a wonderful Sunday and a wonderful week.
Yeah, I hope to see you
Bye,
in
everybody.
a little bit later. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Sheila. See you all later.